Chavre, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilich, begashmus und beruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy physically and spiritually. Today is Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parshas Bechukosai. It's a Shabbos of Chazak, with this Chazek, we finish Sefer Vayikra. It's Shabbos Mevorchim Chodesh Sivan. We are blessing the month of Sivan, we're going towards Shavuos. So what is the connection between all these things? So as usual, since the war started, we add tzedakah. G'dei tzedakah shemakareves agula Mashiach should come now. We're also going to say a prayer. Part of the Birchas HaShachar, we say Yehi Ratzon Ufanecha. We ask Hashem for a couple of requests, and then there's a blessing that ends. Baruch atah Hashem hagoymel chasodim toivim La'am Yisrael. Hashem is blessed who bestows bountiful kindness upon his people Israel. And today we want to discuss, when we say chasodim toivim, good kindness, it means that it's good in a revealed way. And now we'll come to the parsha, and today we'll discuss, and as we've pointed out many times, one of the objectives of these shiurim is to show the profundity of Chassidus, how in a way it's counterintuitive, and it transforms our entire perspective, even concerning the very basic fundamentals of Yiddishkeit. One of the fundamentals of Yiddishkeit is the idea of reward and punishment. So, Parshas Bechukosai, as we all know, it's one of the Parshas in the Torah, which talks about the Teichacha, which is rebuke, which talks about what happens when we don't listen to Hashem. There's Parshas Bechukosai, there's also Parshas Kisova in Dvarim. But first we start off by saying, Im Bechukosai telechu, Vesmitzoisai tishmeru, Vasisem oisam, that if we will go in Hashem's ways, we will be rewarded. And then all the psukim that follow the beginning of this week's Parsha talks about the reward for fulfilling the commandments. And what is the reward for fulfilling the commandments? Primarily, the pasuk is talking about physical rewards. And over here comes the famous question. Why does the Torah spell out the rewards in a physical way? By the way, what I'm speaking today is primarily one sikha of the Rebbe, a chelik lamed zayin b'chukosai, a very fundamental sikha, beautiful sikha. In any case, so the question is, if we look at the source, the ultimate source, the holy book, the holiest book, is the Chumash. And therefore, if we speak about spiritually minded people, seekers, Mavakshe Hashem, people that are seekers of truth, people that their value system is that their priorities are right. So you'd think speaking of a physical reward seems demeaning. It's a degradation. Could you imagine if we're students in an institution of higher learning, and the only reason why we're learning, these students are only learning because someone is looking over them and going to punish them if they don't learn, or they're going to reward them with a Ferrari or with the Farala, whatever it is. So for the person who's a spiritual person, a cerebral person, even a thinker, and a serious-minded individual, physical reward would not even really entice him to a certain sense. It would be embarrassing to think that the only reason why people over there are sitting and listening and searching and studying truth is because they're going to get physically rewarded. So then the question is, why taka? And this is a famous question which all the Mefarshim address. Why is it that the Torah speaks so much about the reward in the physical sense? And this question is also true concerning reward when Mashiach will come. So, some of the commentaries say, number one, that the Torah is not really speaking about the physical rewards as the reward or the ultimate reward for fulfilling Hashem's will, but really it's getting rid of a negative. In other words, sometimes it could be a world, and the world poses a challenge, and there are obstacles and hindrances to fulfilling what Hashem wants. So you should know that the ultimate, in other words, al derech really schar mitzvah, if you serve the Eibishter properly, then the Eibishter himself makes it easier to perform the mitzvahs. He gets rid of any negative obstacles to the performance of mitzvahs, and that's a good answer in a certain level, because you're really searching, you want to be connected to Hashem. And therefore, if you really, Hashem gives you what you want, what you're really searching for, so therefore, the reward is that you'll be able to do it peacefully, in a world where has tranquility, where there's no disturbances, to be able to pursue a life of spirituality. That's one answer. Another answer is, this is the more classic answer, and that is that not everyone is holding on that level that they're going to get excited and motivated by spirituality. The truth is, Dibra Torah connected Yitzhahara. There are people that what's going to inspire them, what's going to motivate them, the physical reward. In other words, there's Lishma, serving Hashem for Hashem's sake, for the right reasons, but then there's something called Shalei Lishma. And the sages say, La'olam. We start with Shalei Lishma, when we take Shalei Lishma, Balishma. Get the person to do the right thing, even if it's for the wrong reasons, but at least he's leading a proper lifestyle, and he's connecting to Hashem. Even if it's not the ultimate level of service, but first we start in that level, and ultimately he'll come higher. He'll reach higher levels, and he'll be able to do it for the right reasons. But right now, where the person's holding, we have to motivate him, even if it's a very shallow reason for him to do the right thing, and that is the physical reward. So that's another answer. But the problem with both of these answers is that really, what's the message of this, of the whole concept of reward? The message is what? How does that inspire the person who's really focused on the spirituality? It's not even important to him whether Hashem is taking away the obstacles, not taking away the obstacles. It's a discussion of truth. It's a discussion of spirituality. Why are we talking about in general the physical realm? Why is that important? Imagine we're studying a book of ethics and morality. We're studying a book of philosophy. We're studying a book of what is the definition of justice. And now, all of a sudden, we're being told certain things about outcomes and results from this lifestyle. Why is it Negeh B'chlal? And how does the Torah, Pashas Bechukosai, what message is there for the person who doesn't really care in general about what's going on in the physical realm and about the impact? What message is there for him? In other words, primarily for the person who's really serving Hashem Lishma. So to understand this, we first have to ask another question, a more comprehensive question in a way. We know the 13 Ikrim, 13 principles of faith that the Rambam writes about. And the last two are about Mashiach and Tchis HaMesim, but basically, according to those that are studying the Rambam, why did the Rambam write about what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? Because it's about reward and punishment, and that we have to know it's a principle of faith that there's reward and punishment. But then, if you think about it for a second, what does it mean that there's an Iker? An Iker means there are 13 Ikrim, and the Iker permeates every single aspect of Yiddishkeit. That's why it's an Iker. The truth is, argumentatively speaking, if somebody would argue, let's say, is Shatnez an Iker, or every mitzvah is an Iker, there's a lot of debate on this whole subject about what are the principles of faith. And the truth is, we have to explain Yiddishkeit, how everything is really an Iker, ultimately. But there's in a way which is more in a demonstrative, obvious manner. For example, if we say, Torah is min hashamayim, Torah comes from Hashem. Obviously, if we detract, we subtract, we take that out of Yiddishkeit, that the Torah is not from Hashem, then everything changes, because then the Torah could change. The reason why the Torah can't change is because it's perfect, because it's Hashem himself. So we understand now this truth, that the Torah is min hashamayim, has to permeate, and is through and through every single aspect, every single iota of Yiddishkeit. And the same thing, when we look at the rest of the Yud Gimel Ikrim, we have to look at them in that perspective. We have to understand how every single one of the 13 principles of faith of the Rambam is something which is essential to the entire Judaism. So now let's talk about the Eibishter as someone who rewards those that do the right thing and punishes those that don't. Why is that an ikir? If Hashem would not reward us, he'd be dishonest. He'd be a thief. If you have a loyal employee who does everything right and served you faithfully, so of course he should be treated in accordance, commensurate. Since you are a loyal subject of the king, so therefore the king repays you, obviously. If he didn't repay you, then he'd be cruel. You repay kindness with cruelty? Someone acts nice to you, and then you're not going to repay them? So therefore the question, that itself is the question. Why is the whole concept of schar v'oinish, why is that a ikir in Yiddishkeit? That's basic. Do I have to be told that Hashem is honest? Do I have to be told, Hezechai? You should know Hashem repays those that serve him. Of course he does. A regular 18-year-old person, 20-year-old person, 22-year-old person, who someone is going to treat him a certain way and do whatever they ask, that person will, the 20-year-old, the 25-year-old will take care of the person who did the service for them. So therefore we have to say there's something much deeper going on. And the answer is that this idea that the schar and einish is not something that we have to know to make us feel good. It's not something that we have to know because the Eibishter is honest. We have to know it because it tells us something about the very nature of Torah mitzvahs. It tells us something about the very nature of Yiddishkeit, of Judaism. And that is, what is the ultimate? What is Yiddishkeit? Tachlis ha'emes v'atoiv. What is Elikus? Tachlis ha'emes v'atoiv. And what is the meaning of Tachlis ha'emes v'atoiv? What is the meaning of the ultimate truth and the ultimate goodness? That it permeates every single level. There's no place that's devoid of the ultimate truth and the ultimate goodness. If it's ultimate goodness, it has to permeate every single realm. If it's ultimate truth, it has to permeate every single area. As we know the famous meaning of the words Aleph, Mem, Sof. Aleph is the beginning of the Aleph Beis, Mem is the middle of the Aleph Beis, Sof is the end of the Aleph Beis, and that teaches us that emes, truth, is something which permeates everything from beginning to the end, back to front, end to front. Now, how does the Rebbe, in the words of the Rebbe, he says we see this, and that's the meaning also of life itself. Life itself means when it's essence. In other words, what is Torah mitzvahs? Kihem chayenu. What does it mean, Kihem chayenu? This is our very life. So it's something that teaches us something in relation to Avodah, what level that our Torah mitzvah is meant to be like, but it's also something that tells us something about Hashem and His Torah mitzvahs. Let's start the way the Rebbe explains in the Sikha with an analogy of a body, a human being. We have a human being, and the human being has, when we look at a live human being, he has two things that are operating, that are active. His functions, functionality, abilities, and the fact that he's alive. When we talk about the koiches pnimiyim, eyesight in your eyeballs, smelling in your nose, speaking with your mouth, seichel in your head, so those are specific faculties that have a specific space in the body where they are, and it works in the dynamics of oyer v'keli. The more refined the faculty, the light, the more refined the vehicle, the conduit through which it expresses itself. So intellect, which is the most superior of man's faculties, resides and operates and works through the brain, which is the most refined part of the body. But the question is, what about life itself? We look at a human being and we say, he's a human. What makes him a human? What means that he's alive? And the answer is not intellect. Because there's many people that their intellect is very low. What happens if a person's in a coma, Hashem Yirachem? What happens if a person is born he's special, Hashem Yirachem, but the bottom line is he's intellectually impaired, Chas v'Shalom. So is he less human? Is he less alive? When we talk about life, the toes on his feet and his brain are exactly the same alive. Any part of the body which is connected to the body is alive. So when we speak about the idea of life itself, there's no difference between the brain and the foot. But here comes the question you can ask. If intellect is the highest faculty of man, and we say that it has to have the highest part of the body where it operates through and where it's revealed, so then how come life itself, which would be higher than intellect, is also in the toes and everywhere in the body equally? You'd think if the life itself is higher than intellect, so for sure it would need a specific, refined, superior, higher place to reveal itself. And the answer is just the opposite. Why? Because life itself, your humanness, call it whatever you want, since it's your essence, it's everywhere equally. Because it's higher, it's not limited to which realm it reveals itself. In other words, because that's you. Could we say there's you, which is separated from you? If it's you, it's you. So your humanness and your life itself is you, so every part of you has to have that you. But guess what? Intellect is not you. Intellect is not your essence. It's a part of you. A part of you could be separated from you. Now, this is how the Rebbe explains. We're talking about Torah mitzvahs. The Torah mitzvahs, and this is why it's an ikr, both in Avodas Hashem, the whole point of Torah mitzvahs is that it's you. It's you. There's no part of you where it doesn't affect and it doesn't permeate. If you were learning Torah and doing mitzvahs and you only saw, and the only power it would have is that your spirituality would become elevated, i.e. the Torah is soul food, then it's not your essence. It's only in the realm of spirituality, divested from the physical. But if we say that when you learn Torah mitzvahs, it's you, that means it's everything about you. You includes your physical life. And therefore, since the Torah mitzvahs, the way it becomes part of you is that it's mamish you, that means therefore the results, the consequences, the outcomes that come from your Torah mitzvahs also is to permeate every aspect of you, your physical life too. That's what the Rebbe explains in the Sikha. Now, why is it that you could have a holy man, a tzaddik, and his physical life didn't turn out in such a way that we saw the goodness, i.e. the reward, that it should manifest itself in the physical too? That's because other things get in the way that we can't understand, like golos, gzeiros, but it doesn't take away from the concept. The concept is Torah is the ultimate good, Torah is the ultimate truth, mitzvah is the ultimate good, mitzvah is the ultimate truth. If it's the ultimate truth, it's the ultimate goodness, it has to also be good and true in the physical realm. So now we understand why it's an ikr. Schar v'einish is an ikr. It turns it all around completely. We're not getting rewarded. Don't look at reward as something that's done for our sake. We are interested in reward, and we have to have reward. So therefore the Eibishter rewards us also in the physical realm. No. Reward is a statement of the truth and of the essence of Torah mitzvahs. Reward is for Hashem's sake. In other words, to validate, so to speak, to demonstrate what is Torah mitzvahs. So therefore we have to have it as an ikir. What is Torah mitzvahs? What is Yiddishkeit? Atzmus, etzem. Etzem, the essence and truth of everything, that therefore has no limits to where it is and how it expresses itself. Ein it movade. Yesh amiti, yesh anivra. And let's connect it to the Mishnah. One of the Mishnahs in Pirkei Avos is this week. Perik, hey, ben bagbag oimer afagba v'afagba tekulaba, uva sechazei v'siv v'leva u'minol lo yisuzua she'en lach mida toiva himena. Delve into the Torah, for everything is in it. With it you will perceive. Grow old and worn over it. Do not stir from it, for you can have no better portion than it. She'en lach mida toiva himena. You know what it means that Torah is the best schera? My mother used to say this all the time. My mother-in-law used to say, Torah is the best schera. Ein lach mida toiva himena. Torah is the best schera. Torah is the best merchandise. Because the goodness, which is in Torah, is the ultimate goodness on a spiritual realm and in a physical realm. Since it's the ultimate goodness, it will have to manifest itself even in the physical realm of health, financial benefit, whatever you call a good life. That's what it means. It has everything in it. That's what it means, the best schera. If something has the best schera, means it has everything. Or else you're going to say on the one hand, on the other hand, it has this but not that. If you say it's the best schera, it's the best merchandise, means it has everything. And this also explains, in general, yes, we talk about the physical things, and sometimes we mean that it should be b'teiva nirva nigla. But the truth is, whenever we said the teiva nirva nigla, it's because it was understood that like what I believe is that a Yiddish mama and whoever understood that if something's good, it has to be good on every level. And obviously it was not about that. But since we're so connected to Hashem, we understood that good means good. And if it's good, it's on every level. So there's a famous word for the Bechukosai. We said this before, that, when he turned to the Eibishter and he would say, it should be a good year, he would say, so Zainat, a gute year, the coming year, the upcoming year. So Zainat, a gute year, the Rebbetzin sagt, that's a good. Which means it should be such a good year that my wife is going to say it's a good year. She doesn't know from Chachmes. Good doesn't only mean that my son is going to learn Shas, and that my son is going to withstand all temptations, and that I'm going to be connected to Hashem. It means if it's good, it's got to be good on every level. And I was once by a Fabrengen where the Rebbe was talking about, I think I said this also, the Rebbe was talking about Mashiach. And the Rebbe would sometimes like describe a scenario. When you go to another Jew and you tell him as Mashiach comes, that Mashiach is coming, he's going to ask, was wird sein, when Mashiach would come in? What's going to happen when Mashiach will come? You have to tell him it's going to be good. Was wird sein gut? So he's going to ask, what do you mean it's going to be good? Wird sein gut, wie versteht gut. You have to tell him that he has to understand. You have to tell him it's going to be good the way he understands good. So if you meet a person and he wants to know what's going to happen when Mashiach comes, tell him it's going to be good. How's it going to be good? Whichever way you define good, it's going to be good, because it's a profound word. Because the ultimate good is Hashem Himself, and Hashem Himself has no limits. And when Mashiach will come, the ultimate of Hashem, v'nigla kvei davaya, so we're all going to see how tamuru ki toiv avaya, the goodness of Hashem will permeate the physical, etc., etc. And this is Shabbos Mevorachim Chidush Sivan, and this is the preparation for Matan Torah Shavuos, which is the main holiday and day of the entire month of Sivan. The whole idea of Matan Torah, probably going to mention in the next couple of weeks, is the Bittul Agzera Geinim Yodel Matav Tachtenim Yal Lamayla. That which was up came down below, that which was below rose above. There was the marriage of heaven and earth. In other words, religion is not meant, spirituality is not meant to remain in the realm of spiritual. The whole idea, the whole purpose of Yiddishkeit, connected with the Ikir of Schar V'Einish, means that when we receive the Torah, we're making a difference in the physical world. Every time we're learning, we're making a difference in the physical world. Every time we're studying, we're making a difference in the physical world. When we light a candle Erev Shabbos Kodesh, we're lighting up the world in a physical way. And that's the whole novelty, the tremendous, awesome idea, and the epic achievement of Matan Torah and Shavuos is that everything we're doing connected to Torah and Mitzvahs is actually changing the world. You can change the world. Because Etzem Elikus and the Etzem of Torah Mitzvahs is all about how there's no limits. Ultimate truth also permeates the physical. That's the entire point. And that's one of the explanations why Har Sinai is called Har Chorev. Chorev, Meloshen Cherev, a sword. And the Gemara says, Sinai, Sheor the Sinah, and there's the Pasuk, Oiz V'Sushia, that the nefesh, that the Torah strengthens the good, then your Yetzer Tov, it weakens the bad. Har Chorev means it's destroying the negative, etc., etc. And that's the whole idea of Matan Torah. There's a story about a certain rabbi, was not Chabad, not the Chassidic approach. They say this story. This is a story that we used to be said when we were Bachar 35 years ago. The Rebbe, as you know, and this is, by the way, another central theme of the Rebbe, whenever there was a problem that's in the physical, the Rebbe would answer something in the spiritual, and that's going to take care of the problem in the physical. One of the most famous things that everyone knows about is checking mezuzahs, when it's a question of health. Okay, so somebody had a heart problem or a health problem. The Rebbe said, check the mezuzah. They found something wrong with the mezuzah. They went to another one of the Jewish leaders in Eretz Yisrael, not of the Hasidic persuasion. And they told him the story. The guy was sick. He had a problem. The Rebbe told him, check the mezuzah. And everything was taken care of when they fixed that problem in the mezuzah. And they came over to him to tell him, you see, look at the Rebbe. And he said famously, Es hotnes kin seiches. It's not related, it's not connected. And in a way, Hashem Yirachem. He's trying to make a division. There's the realm of the Beis HaMedrash, and there's the realm of a concept in Gemara, and then there's the physical realm of health and financial security and a good life in the physical world, and the two are not related. When the whole idea of Yiddishkeit and how the Baal Shem Tov stressed that Eibishter is Als and Als is the Eibishter. Hashem is everything and everything is Hashem. Because the ultimate truth must be in every realm and every single level. So the Hasidic perspective would be Rachman al-Islam Chas v'Sholem, that he should say Asad Shayches. This is what the Rebbe was doing and showing and demonstrating his entire life. Every single letter almost in Igros Kodesh is about that idea. Someone writes about some physical issue, and the answer is a spiritual, because the spiritual and the physical are exactly one. And that's exactly what Shavuos and Matan Torah is about. So my friends, have a good Shabbos. Chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek. And I'm wishing every single one of you, as soll sein gut, und soll sein gut, at the Rebbetzin soll sagen, as so gut. Betoy v'anire v'anigle, begula mitzvah shleima, take it from miyad, mamish. Posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, your man in Melbourne.